Good evening. Today, we are going to continue from where we reached the other time. It was unfortunate, but it's just a 10-minute video. This one too, I'll do just something brief, just to explain this chapter one. So I was talking about how the Hebrew Nomads, their cultural cycle became their festival, and how their all the historical events became their festival. Like one I can mention is the historical event, the Sukkot, or the Feast of the Tabernacle. Yes, so it's a historical event. You can also make mention of the agricultural cycle, agricultural events. You can talk about Passover as part of it. You can mention others. We have a lot of them. So yes, so I was saying that the Hebrews were nomads. They were moving to and fro. They were gallivanting, going around looking for a greener pasture to feed their flocks. So when they converted into kingdom because of their numbers, they begin to write the books. So some of these practices influence their writing. For example, if you read the book of Psalms, Psalm 23, which the Hebrew is Sefer Tehelim, verse 23. Sefer Tehelim means the song of praise. Or let's say how you put it, the book of songs. Or how you put it, the book of praise to Yahweh. Sefer Tehelim la Yahweh, book of song of praise to Yahweh. So you read that verse like 23 to tell you the Lord is my shepherd. That's the English translation, but the original translation from the Hebrew, when you do it by not neglecting the name of Yahweh, it says Yahweh is our shepherd. Why are they using their way of life, the nomadic way of life, to write this text? Because they realize that leadership is a position of a shepherd. It's like when you're a leader, you're a shepherd of a group of the sheep, which are your people. So they wrote their scriptures to reflect their practice as nomads. So Yahuwah is our shepherd, because Yahuwah being the father or the most high father of all the Hebrews is the shepherd. He is the one who oversees. So we shall not want. We makes it like so. They were using their nomadic practices, how they care for the sheep or the flocks, how they feed them, give them water, lead them to the greener pastures and those stuff. So they use it to write the book of Psalm, the Psalm 23. And this is a clear indication that the Hebrews were nomads. Yes, this is a clear indication that the Hebrews were nomads. So let's look at this picture. You can see this picture here. There's this how they were living their life, going to and fro, feeding the flocks. We were having several animals, feeding the sheep, the goats, a lot of them. So this is this figure is a Bedouin room, the Syrian desert, the nomadic Bedouin. No, Bedouins were blacks. We had the blacks. They were Bedouins. Bedouins were roaming the land of Syria and the land of where we call the Canaanites or Canaan, and all the what they call the area that we call Middle East now. They were living there, feeding flocks. So this is not something that is a cool story. It's a historical, and they migrated to the lower belt to Egypt. Even later, when they face this Roman Inquisition and those stuff, they have to come to down to Africa, Mali, the old Ghana Empire and those stuff. They were still living the nomadic life. Yes. So as I'm saying, when the Hebrews came to Kemet, they learned their ways. Like we all know in the book of Acts 7:22, we make a reference to that Moses or Moshe learned some of the biology, geometry, mathematics, and other field of studies. Yes. So before they moved, they were living in where we call it Northeast Africa, where it is in the land of Canaan. Let me put it that way. Yes, living on the land of Canaan. Yes, because that was their place, and Jerusalem was their city. Jerusalem city was, I always say Jerusalem city was a whole what they call it center of studies, but they had a lot of books, universities in Jerusalem. Jerusalem, as we know as a city, was a whole let me say university, a whole city that has its own university, its own medicine and everything. Like they were, it was a great and a peaceful what do you call it, city. And this Jerusalem I'm talking about faced the wrath of the Romans. So the Roman destroyed Jerusalem in AD 70. But before that, Antiochus Epiphanes II had already invaded Jerusalem. And if you read the book of Maccabees 1, chapter 1, verse 20 to 64, you can look for or search for that book. You will get a little bit of information there. Now, Jerusalem as it stands, in the book of Lamentation, keynote, it also talks about the same Jerusalem. Yes, because if you read the book of Lamentation, it uses the word the personal pronoun she is used she to as she to represent what I'm saying Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is a woman. So that's why I said the other time in my book I mentioned that even Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis chapter 3, it did mention of the woman was deceived. It not mention the name of the woman. It don't say Eve. It said a woman. So that woman that was deceived was not even Eve herself or herself, but rather the deception that happened was the deception in Jerusalem. And that's the coded version of what happened in the what happened in the days of Antiochus Epiphanes, and that of in the AD 70, how Jerusalem was deceived and destroyed, and then the whole city was besieged by the Romans. Yes, and so if you read the Bible, say the snake deceived the woman, and they are all coded words. Yeah, so that's just by the way. So the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 1 to 17, too, talks about a woman who was clothed with the sun and with the 12 stars on his head, on her head, and then standing on the moon. All this one too are coded, and it has connection to Jerusalem and then let's say the people of Israel as a whole. Yes, so let me continue. So before that, Yahuwah and the Elohims. So the Hebrew word Elohim is people say God. Yes, in Hebrew when we say Elohim, we are talking about leaders. That's why the word El in Hebrew means leader, or El is an authority, a power. So when you say Elohim, we are talking about leaders, plural. So Yahuwah and the Elohims, his leaders. So like sometimes you come across names like Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and those Els. They are all leaders who are also who were in position to assist Yahuwah in his operations. So the whole thing about Michael and then the other angels I mentioned, they are not, I don't call them supernatural beings. I see them as real people. They are physical beings who were assisting Yahweh in his kingdom building. Yes. So everybody will operate in his own dimension. So like Gabriel was a messenger, he was disseminating information. Michael was a mighty warrior when it comes to fight, and then those wars he lead them. Raphael was he was good in medicine. So this is how the whole thing is. It's a whole kingdom, and a whole kingdom should have all these people playing a role in building the kingdom. The medical aspect, the information dissemination aspect, and the that of let's say the military aspect. And you can add others. Yeah, so that's how the whole thing was. Yeah, so the last group of people uh, of the Israel, or the let me say Hebrew Nomads, migrated to Northeast Africa, who led Northeast Africa during the Roman invasion. They all crossed to Egypt, stayed in Egypt for some time, then later continued their journey down to the lower belt, where now they are living in West Africa. You can look at, if you look at the map of Africa, you can see that people living in West Africa, they are Kam people and the other people. You can just do other research work. They are all what do you call it, Israelites. Yes, they are all Israelites. They are Hebrew Israelites, and they migrated from Northeast Africa. Yes. So you can read a book called Babylon, From Babylon to Timbuktu. You can get enough information on what I'm saying. Yes. So let's look at this map. So look at this. This is the map. So this is how they migrating all the way from Jerusalem down all the way to Egypt,